For a brief moment in time yesterday, Bitcoin created a new all-time high, and people are wondering right now what is going to happen next. The thing is, at this point in the market, this is when you need to plan ahead and decide what your next move is going to be. Are you going to start looking into altcoins that may move next if Bitcoin consolidates? Another thing you need to consider is, what if Bitcoin has a really nasty pullback? Or what if the leverage was all already wiped out? Because we do know that we took out $1 billion, over $1 billion worth of liquidations on yesterday's spike down. It was about a 14% move, took out a lot of leverage, and once the board is wiped, they can just keep going in the same direction. So what this means is that you need to have a plan for what you're going to do next for each scenario. And that's what I'm going to get into in today's video. I'm going to show you my plan and a few altcoins that I'm looking to buy next based purely off technical analysis and the best potential upside just back to its prior all-time high. So I'm going to take you through the few altcoins that I'm looking at, but before we do that, let me take you through the Bitcoin potential scenarios, because when you buy into these altcoins is very dependent on the move that Bitcoin makes next. So as we get into it, be sure to smash that like button nice and early and hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. All right, so looking at the 1 hour chart for Bitcoin, we can see that this was the spike here that for a very brief moment in time created a new all-time high. That was actually a final damage M formation, which you can see here, and a final damage M formation is when the second peak is actually higher than the first peak. And the point of that is because this first peak here was the all-time high, the prior all-time high, and so naturally many people would open short positions there. So what happens is the market maker initially lets you believe you're right, and then they come back for literally a final damage and they spike that little bit higher, because that little bit higher takes out your stop losses, and for the very high leverage traders will liquidate some of them as well. And then the price actually goes the way that you predicted. So if you've ever been in a trade where you've said to yourself, oh, I got stopped out and then the trade went my way, well, that's why. So you got caught in a final damage move. A very typical market maker move, especially at a very key level where it would be expected that many people would open short positions. And that's what makes it very dangerous to try and trade at the all-time high level. But moving on from that, we then saw this spike down, and we're in a tricky situation now because the spike down did immediately close back above the 200 EMA. And so with the 200 EMA acting as support, that is still relatively bullish. And we also know that that took out, I think it was $1.15 billion worth of liquidations. A lot of damage was done on this move down here. And also in this cycle so far, we haven't really seen hugely deep pullbacks. That doesn't mean they won't come, but at this point in time, we really have to be open to many options. Another reason we should be open for that being all we get for the moment is when we have a look at the heat map orders currently, we can see here that there isn't really any attempts to short Bitcoin from here until we get around 70,000. And when I say any attempts, I mean any really high level orders. So those short orders sitting at 70K, they've been there for a while. I'll show you some conditions that we would need to meet to believe we're going to go to 70 before we actually do have any more of a decent pullback. But 70K is an area to watch, and we can also then see below price that we do have, fairly staggered buys, but looking at around just above $58,500 all the way down to about 56,100. That's kind of the area where people are hoping to buy next. So we just have to be aware of both of those, because what that means is that it's possible that this creates a lower high and then we come down to the 56 kind of area, 58 to 56 kind of area, and that would end up being a drop level 2 after the M formation, or it could end up being 2 drops if it ends up happening at separate times. So here's how you kind of make up your mind on which is which. In this drop here, you need to initially mark out your vectors that are created in the drop, and we can see that we had 1, 2, 3 red vectors that were created. 2 of them have already been recovered. This one here was recovered by this price action. This one here was recovered by this price action. And now we've got the final one, which is about halfway recovered, but not all the way through. In doing that, it creates the initial high of the day. And the initial high of the day is created during the Asia session. As I'm filming this is the UK session. So the initial high of the day is safely in. And we can see it a little bit better on the 15-minute time frame. So once we know that on the 1 hour, there is another vector yet to recover, We then are starting to look in the UK session for what happens at the initial high of the day. Now, it is quite normal towards the end of the Asia session that we get an extension to the upside. So this little move here that extended at the end of Asia, that's normal. What we need to see next is whether this is creating a new trend to continue to the upside, or does UK give the lower high? If UK gives us a lower high, that's when we would assume that the level 2 drop is coming. So UK will try to repeat this level right here, but it will fail to get above it. And then we know a level 2 drop is coming. However, if in the attempt to return to that level, we create a higher high, then it's likely we're going up, potentially towards that 70K region next. Now, I don't think you should be short-term trading this, in my honest opinion. I think knowing what Bitcoin is doing and where it is right now is the perfect time to plan ahead for altcoins that you're going to want to buy now that are not moving really at all, because we know that once Bitcoin is done and dusted, the attention is going to move to altcoins. So you always need to be thinking one step ahead. So let's go through the scenarios that could happen for Bitcoin. If we do get this lower high and we get a further 3 drops, that's going to be a fairly decent retracement, especially if it comes down to these lower buy orders where people want to buy between 56 and 58.5K. If that happens, and for me personally, that's where I will be buying dips on the altcoins that I'm already in, but I'm wanting to add to my positions. And these are all spot positions for me to hold for, the rest of the cycle. I'm not looking to leverage trade altcoins. I'm looking to build my portfolio for the cycle. So that would be scenario 1, that we actually do get a further 2 drops on Bitcoin and it's a buy the dip. I will be aggressively buying the dips if that were to happen. Scenario 2 would be that Bitcoin just consolidates. Now, if that happens and Bitcoin just hangs around at its all-time high for a week or two, that's no problem at all. But what that means is that the altcoins may not pull back at all. So they may just break out of consolidation and it will just be a money shift where Bitcoin is slowing down. It's in an accumulation phase. That's why it's just going sideways. And whilst it's accumulating, traders get bored and they move over to wanting to trade altcoins. So if that were to happen, then I can't expect the pullback. I have to be ready to buy out of consolidation. So that would be plan B. The final plan, well, actually, no, there is one more. So second last plan is that Bitcoin just breaks out and it goes to 70K. If it does do that, then that's going to take us further into March. And we do expect some, most of the time March is not the best month. So we do expect at some point in time that there will be a pullback. I will be looking towards news events to get an idea of something macroeconomic that may affect Bitcoin pulling back harsher at 70K. And so this is actually the fourth point. And that would be watching things like the S&P. I'll be looking now for this to start a pullback, maybe not from here, but based on some news, which means I then have to go and have a look at what economic news could be coming out soon that could cause the stock market to have a little bit of a pullback. Because if it does that, then that's going to cause Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin hits 70K before it happens, great. I would just expect my retracement to happen after that. And I'm in the buy the dip plan. So that means I've got to have a look at what news events are coming up soon that may affect things. We can see that Fed Chair Powell is testifying. There's unemployment claims, which there always is at the end of the week, unemployment rate, things like that. I'm even going to look into next week to plan ahead. We've got CPI next week, core PPI next week. So there's a few things over the next 1 to 2 weeks where if Bitcoin continues to run to the upside, these are dates that I'm going to keep an eye on, where I'm going to watch the stock market to see how the stock market reacts. And that's going to give me the idea that it may affect a Bitcoin pulling back around these events if we happen to get any bad news. But if it does, it's not a problem. I'm going to buy the dip plan. If there is no pullback in the stock market, then I'm going to the consolidation plan, where I'm just waiting. Whatever price it is irrelevant, but I'm waiting for Bitcoin to go into a consolidation phase where it just goes sideways and gets a bit boring to trade. And that means that we're going to shift to altcoins, and I want to get in that consolidation before the breakout. And the final thing, of course, that you always have to be aware of is, what if it's all over? What if this all-time high is all we get and now it's just the end? Well, I mean, I guess you're taking a chance on crypto right now in believing that it's not over. The halving hasn't even happened. You're really banking on the cycle. And I guess in that way, it's more of a blind faith thing. If you believe in Bitcoin, if you don't believe that the absolute high for this cycle is in and now we're just going back down, then you are looking for opportunities to buy. You would have to be extremely bearish to think that the top is already in, but it doesn't kill you to have a plan for it anyway. So for me personally, I do have a plan for that. Over the last year, 13 months or so, I have been buying alts. I've been building my portfolio. I'm not fully positioned, which is why I'm looking for these dips now, either pre-halving or post-halving, to allocate the rest of my funds. And also in doing that, this has been a chance for me to reevaluate my whole portfolio and decide, what do I really want in it? So I do have a fair few amount of altcoins I'm actually looking to offload. And it's not because any of them are bad. It's simply upside potential combined with fundamental analysis, which I don't do the fundamental analysis myself. I have a researcher who does it. So we work together and we have narrowed down a list, and that's my focus for the cycle. So now that you know my whole plan moving forward, I'm now going to show you some of those coins that are on the list that have a really good potential just back to their all-time high. A lot of the things that we're buying are fairly new as well, so that they don't have previous price action to be able to set targets off, and that does make it difficult. But the purpose of this video is to just show you things where we do have previous price action that we can set as targets, and if the best they do is just get back to their all-time high, I see massive potential in these coins. So the first coin on my list is PYR, which is Vulcan Forged. And if we zoom out on this one on the daily time frame, you can see our average buy for this one currently is $3.50, essentially, literally in the accumulation phase right after the bear market before we've broken out. So we have a very good average entry right now. And when we have a look, if we zoom out on this and look at the upside potential, it's pretty amazing where there is to go from here. About 530% just back to the all-time high. And I should say, these coins that I'm actually going to cover on this video are coins that we see potential from today moving forward. So not coins that you've missed the boat on or somebody else got into way earlier and now they're telling you to get into them to pump their bags. That's not it. Like, I'm showing you, if you happen to buy it today, this is the upside potential. Not a recommendation to buy today, but I do believe over the next, say, 2-month period, staggered buys over the next 2-month period, whilst it's in this range here where it has broken out of the accumulation phase, it has created a higher high and then a higher low. That's what makes this a good area to slowly buy into it. If there are deeper dips, who cares? You're just buying a little bit at a time. In the long run, it's not going to be that different, you know, whether you make 500 or 530% or 450%, it's still going to be an amazing purchase. So now that you see the upside potential on that, let's zoom in and have a look at the current price action. And we can see on the daily time frame, we've had this rise up through here. We've had a retracement that held the 200 EMA on the daily time frame. That's really rather bullish. And then it's taken off for a second move to the upside currently, where now the 50 EMA is acting as the support, but we also do have a double top here. So the way that this works for me is I don't really buy dips unless we get back into the oversold region on the 4-hour time frame, which happened last night. So I did actually buy the dip on this one, and this $3.50, that's my new average entry after buying the dip. But that doesn't mean I don't think that there's more of a dip coming. Like I said, this is a 2-month plan. At some point over 2 months, there will be further pullbacks, in my opinion, and that's what I would be waiting for. So if that happens soon, it's very possible that this here could just be a high that is created that will follow with a lower high, and then we come down like this. So whatever happens, if something like that happened, I would be buying here, and wherever I felt it bottomed out. So that would be my retracement plan. If price just consolidates, if Bitcoin just consolidates, then as long as it holds the 200 EMA on the 4-hour time frame and the RSI is not all the way back up in overbought, then I would be happy to buy those dips as well. Even the 800 EMA would be a good support for me. So, you know, have your alerts set on the 200 EMA, have it also set on RSI oversold, and you don't need to come back and look at this unless one of those two things go off. And then you're really just looking for bullish candlesticks candlestick confirmation to tell you, yep, that's a buy the dip moment, go ahead and buy. Now, the next one on my list was VRA, Verasity. And if we zoom out on this one, you'll also see why I still see from this point on that there is still so much upside potential. So from where the price is right now, back to its all-time high is a 583%. Zooming in on this one, you can see our average buy was down here. Looking at the price action alone, we had this accumulation phase, we had the move out, we had the retest. Anywhere in this area of interest as it held was a great area to buy. We've had a breakout, we've had an EMA retest, and we've had another move to the upside. So now, same thing. When I go down to the 4 hour on this, it's the same conditions. I'm looking ideally for RSI oversold or a 200 EMA retest. And yesterday we got the 200 EMA retest. You can see where my alert is, and that's where we did another buy. By the way, all of these buys are shared in the TTC Discord. It's in the Capital Club membership. So if you are wanting to build an altcoin portfolio and you do want some guidance on that, consider coming to join us. The link to the website is down below. We have two types of memberships. One of them is called First Class, which is based only on learning to short-term trade, leverage trade. But Capital Club includes all of the trading, and then on top of that, it also includes investing, building portfolios like what I'm taking you through on this video today. So a lot of people think I'm just a short-term day trader and like to tell me that in this kind of a market I'll get wrecked. You have no idea. I'm actually a qualified investment advisor. So I definitely do long-term invest in crypto as well. But anyway, point being, we can see here that this met the conditions of the 200 EMA bounce, and we did do another buy on that. So where you're seeing this average buy right now, that is our average entry on VRA currently, but I am looking to buy more dips on this one as well. And again, if it comes back to 200 EMA or if it gets back into that RSI oversold, I'm always looking for this on the 4 hour time frame. Then those will be areas that I will look to purchase even more of this one. And the next one I'm looking at is Illuvium. Now, when you zoom out on Illuvium, this is insane. You know, in the last bull market, it went up to just under $2,000. From where it is right now, that is 1,500%. So if you were to buy today and this one only got back to its all-time high at some point in the next cycle, that is 1,500%. So the upside potential on this one is really, really insane. And for me, it's worth having in the portfolio. All of these coins are available to purchase in Bitget. If you are looking for somewhere to trade on, definitely check out the links below, because every single one of the exchanges that we have below will get you somewhere between a 20 to 25% trading fee discount. And in a bull market where you will be trading a lot, believe me, those fees add up. So you should definitely be hunting, if you are looking for exchanges to join, be hunting for trading fee discounts. And I believe, unless someone can prove me wrong, I believe that this channel gives the biggest kickback back to its audience than there is out there. So if we're not the biggest kickback, we are one of the biggest kickbacks for sure. And that is a personal choice. It's a way for me to show my gratitude to you for supporting this channel. So if you haven't already smashed the like button, just do that for me nice and quickly. Also, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you do think of these coins, and if there's anything else that you've been looking at that you see has massive upside potential based on prior price action as well. And be sure to check out those links, because I'm telling you, it really does save you in the long run. If you're not noticing your fees right now, I mean, when you look at funding rates and things like that, they are out of control right now. So if you've been hearing anyone talk about funding rates being the highest they've ever seen, you're paying that. So definitely go and get yourself a discount by using one of the exchanges below. Now, looking at Illuvium price action, again, you can see this was the accumulation phase down here. This is where we were buying through. We broke the 200 EMA. This is our average entry. So that means somewhere between here and here we have been buying, and our current average entry is at $50.65. Doesn't matter if you're not in it. Don't worry about our average entry. We're just looking at how price is performing prior to that and whether or not there's still time to buy into this, which in my opinion, there absolutely is. So had this nice breakout that created a higher high, compared to the last high, and then it came down and it held the 200 EMA as support on the daily time frame, very bullish, and now it's moved off for its second one. So let's have a look at this one on the 4-hour time frame. And again, this was a buy that we did last night in Capital Club as well, and you can see we hit the RSI oversold, we held the 200 EMA. Those are my conditions to buy. Again, we've got a few more purchases to do on this one, so the buy the dip opportunity is going to be if we come down for a further few rises, we hit the oversold region again, potentially 800 EMA or even lower, doesn't even matter. But if we do see another 3 drops, it's going to be a buy the dip moment. If Bitcoin consolidates, it's going to be buy the breakout of the consolidation. Now, for my Australian audience, you may have received an email over the last couple of days from OKX letting you know that a few things are changing over there, and that sometime in March you're going to be required to take a test, and that test will decipher whether or not you qualify as a sophisticated investor, and that will unlock your ability to be able to leverage trade. So if you don't feel that you're going to meet the conditions that are required to do that, that does mean, unfortunately, as much as we love OKX, and believe me, I love OKX, it does mean you're going to have to look for somewhere else to trade on. Down below, there are 4 links. One of them is OKX. If you're an Aussie user, that's not going to be on the cards for you. The next one is BitGet. BitGet I love because it does tend to list coins rather early. So if I'm wanting to buy something that's fairly new, but not like completely degenerate, BitGet is usually the place that I'll be able to find that coin. And I also find the leverage trading very easy on BitGet as well. But for me, the biggest advantage is the fact that it's got a big amount of coins. And if you like to buy, a little bit more high risk coins, you're probably going to find them there. The next one is BingX. BingX, same deal. They will list coins fairly early as well. But the added advantage with BingX is that you can also trade other markets. So if you want to trade gold or S&P or things like that, you can do it all in the same place, and you're trading with crypto, so you're earning crypto in your profits. So love BingX for that one. And then the final one is a newer exchange, which is called Bitchnix. Bitchnix is a non-KYC one, and I like it because I always like to have a non-KYC option, because you never know when something is going to get announced and you lose access to your favorite exchange, like what's happening with some of our Aussie users right now. So I always like to have a non-KYC option, and I have personally met the owners. I've actually had dinner at their house many, many times. So I trust them. They are a newer exchange and there are a lot of developments happening. I happen to know what's coming in the future, and that's why I believe in the exchange, but I can't tell you what's happening in the future as things get announced. But it is a platform that it is a non-KYC option, and you do have to be a little bit patient with it right now, but new features are being developed all the time, and in no time I believe it's going to be one of the top exchanges. They really are working hard over there. So if you are looking for those, grab the links down below. Every single one of them, you can read what discount you get. I've got it all clearly labeled for you down below, but every single one of them will get you at least a 20% trading fee discount for life. It really is in your best interest to trade on accounts where you are given that rebate. And in addition to that, they also do give you access to our free Discord, and sometimes we share charts in there that we don't share on social media, so that you can get into trades when things happen at a moment's notice. So consider those. So just remember, whilst everyone's eyes are focused on the one thing, there is something else that you as an investor or even a trader need to be planning for next. This is how you always have an edge on the market. Everybody has been tagging me on social media asking what's happening with Bitcoin. Is it midweek reversal? Is it this? Is it that? I don't care. It's in an uptrend. I'm looking for where I can make the biggest opportunity next, and that's what I shared with you on this video today.